Let's begin with the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Today's lecture is titled Contact with Christ, and this is taken from Chapter 7, Teachings of Christ, Volume 1, and it is in the middle of the chapter. It starts Contact with Christ. This is such an important topic, and as I was preparing for it, I realized how little I strive to make contact throughout the year. And you will see through this lecture, there are going to be over 400 opportunities of contact per year. That's a lot, which means you don't have to do all 455 or 500, but just choose one or two and see what that means to you and at what times in your life you seek contact. So contact with Christ is a process of developing a sincere relationship with something higher than us. It is a process of being truly honest, truly humble, and be open for guidance. It is a process that requires us to take a step and make efforts. It is not going to happen automatically. The total end result of contact is success. On page 133, Torkom writes, "You can see it in your business, in your letters, in your thinking, in your writing, in your communication, in your conversation. There's a dynamism in everything you do. That dynamism means you are going to be successful, and Christ stands for success. Christ means to be successful because the power of light is successful and the power of spirit is successful. You are going to be successful in your own career. You are going to be successful in your efforts of communication, in your social life, in your creativity. You are going to be successful in contacting and communicating with higher and higher levels of intelligence. You are going to be successful because you cannot do otherwise. I hope this is sinking into us. The contact means success. You are a flame of Christ, striving. Nobody fails when he even once contacts Christ. Nobody. This is a profound meaning And I chose this topic because it starts the year for us. It helps us position our life in a way that we can actually seek higher contact to solve our problems rather than go to the usual subconscious ways that we try to solve problems. Now, in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verses 7 to 8, Jesus said, and you all know this, ask, and it will be given to you. Do we ask? And how do we ask? Seek, and you will find. How long does our seeking last? When there are obstacles, do we try to get over them? Or do we say too much, can't do it, next lifetime? Right? Seek and you will find. Has to be sustained seeking. And there are times I've seen in my life that you will lose patience. You will act out. You will get angry. I've done it. But that doesn't stop you. You go back and seek again. Knock and the door will be opened. Do we knock sustainably at that closed door until it yields to us? For everyone who asks receives. It's promised. When a great one speaks like this, it's not something like, when you ask and we feel like it, we will give you something. It depends on our persistence and energy that we put into it. The one who seeks finds. Sincerely seeking. Are we looking for answers that fulfill our desires and our subconscious mind, or are we really seeking for a new answer, for a new way, a new path? What are we seeking? And the one who knocks, the door will be opened. So a knock has to be sincere, and you're going to find how you knock. How you knock, how persistently, how loudly. The teaching is clear about our relationship with those who can help us. They open doors for us, they heal us, they guide us, and the need is met, but it has a requirement. We have to show up. For example, we are given a diploma after we finished a required study, not before. We get a master's degree when our master's thesis is completed and we pass an exam. We get a PhD when all our research is done and we go in front of a group of teachers and they test us. And then we get our PhD. The higher level of recognition and reward, the more stringent, deep, complex, and intense are the requirements. Let me read that again. The higher level of recognition and reward, the more stringent, deep, complex, and intense are the requirements. Don't give up. Okay? The degrees cannot be purchased online or easily received by unqualified work. Real high-level recognized rewards are given after serious work has been accomplished and a change has taken place. So we don't get rewards for wishing. We get rewarded by healing, by recognition, by being given more responsibility after we do the work. So contact with Christ, or any great one, even conscious contact with our guardian angel, is available, but there are preconditions that have to be met. Let us look at the 7 occasions that open this contact for us. And I will go through these and note what is required by each one. I looked at each one and I thought, wow, there's profound preparation and process and end result that's required for each contact. So be conscious of what that means. What went before the contact and what happened afterwards? And what the changes were that happened afterwards. Are they sustained? Is it just a momentary change and then we spring back to what we were before? or is it something that's sustained? Okay, the first contact, this starts on page 125. There are 7 occasions, and the first one is when we are baptized. When we are baptized, our heart center, there's a blue flame that starts to be lit. That is why baptism is so important. It is a holy mystery. Now, in many traditions, children, babies are baptized. Sometimes they have to be not more than 40 days old. Sometimes they have to be a couple months old so they can stand that process. And in many churches, you have to be an adult. You have to consciously choose that you want to be baptized. So just imagine, the baby is washed in water, anointed, put white clothes on. There are godparents present, and the parents basically give that precious child to a minister, to the godparents. I've seen mothers giving that child over for baptism, and you should see their faces. It's not easy. They're like, no, but then yes. Have you seen that? It's really interesting that the mother has this, and then all of a sudden, mom and dad are saying, okay, we are going to expand your environment. We are going to give you to this entire congregation. We, the parents and the godparents, are now your go-to people, but so are all these people. What a great amount of trust and emotional confidence goes in that process. I can't imagine it. And you see, if you've been to baptism, I'm sure all of you have, it's that joyous occasion. Everybody's happy. And when that child is raised at the altar, wow, everybody's so happy. That child now belongs to Christ. Wow, it's unbelievable. Now, when adults want to be baptized, and I've seen this, they also wear white and they're dunked completely in water. They're anointed. That takes a lot of courage to get up in front of everybody and get dunked and actually feel like, wow, I am now part of this holy ceremony, something bigger than me. Something changes in us. So think of that great joy and the great resignation that happens at that moment of baptism to an adult person and to the parents and godparents and family of that child. It's a great resignation that my child is not just mine now. It belongs, or she or he belongs, to this entire congregation. That's amazing. So the second occasion when Christ contacts people is the time of Holy Communion. And think of what is involved in Holy Communion. Before we take communion, in many traditions, there is a prayer time, a cleansing time. Maybe it's a time we confess. In many churches, you go to the priest and you confess all the things that you need to get off your heart, off your chest. In some of the churches, everybody comes together, the pastor or the priest reads what you should be confessing, and you say, yes, I confess. So there is a moment of facing yourself. In Ageless Wisdom, we have a quiet meditation period where you say things like, I forgive that person. I will not do that again. I will start a different path. So there is a cleansing process, and then you take the communion, and then what happens? You are now part of Christ, part of the congregation. You have shared a meal with everyone. Now we are all one family. Okay, that's a second. Third occasion when Christ contacts us is at Wesak Festival. Sometimes people think Wesak is just, a time to get together and all the masters go and do the ceremony at Wesak Valley, but it is truly a time of contact. Just imagine that all the masters of wisdom, the hierarchy, Buddha, Christ, even the logos are present in one place. And if you prepare, hierarchy prepares starting in November the year before. That's 6 months before they prepare. And that's why one of our requirements at TSG WASOC is that you start preparing in November with meditations, with prayers, that you prepare. And when you prepare, you see the difference at that moment. You see that contact. The next one is at every full moon. At the exact moment of the full moon, Christ tries to contact those who are, listen to this word, known to him. Isn't that interesting? How does he know us? Well, because we've been knocking on the door. We've been asking. We've been seeking. And now something is registered. So when we are known to him, that door is open and he contacts us. And look what that takes. Preparation. Putting things aside. Sitting quietly. And we don't sit and just think of everything else that's going on. That's happened to me. Has it happened to you when you sit for meditation? Everything is whirling around and you have to kind of pull it all back and say, wait, this is not what I want to do. So at the full moon is important, whether we are alone or with others, that we link and connect with Christ. The fifth one is every Saturday night. I found this interesting. Every Saturday night, he tries to make a contact. Saturday night is so holy because it is going towards Sunday morning. He contacts you, and Torkom writes, just try to keep Saturday night holy and see if it really makes a difference. That's another intentional process. The sixth one, every sunset, Christ contacts us. Have you ever been to the Grand Canyon? Have you sat at sunset and watched the sun go down? It is really unbelievable. And what's unbelievable is not just the sunset, is the hundreds of people all lined up and sitting down and facing in one direction, totally quiet. Totally quiet. When that moment, when the sun goes down, everybody is quiet. When does that happen when you have hundreds of people sitting together? It is so profound that people feel it in their hearts and they're quiet. There's no chattering, there's no noise, and everybody just sits and watches. I know when a group of people come here and they're here at a time when the sun is setting in the west here, they look through the corridor and they say, they stop. Wow, the sun is setting. It is beautiful. Why is that? Look in your heart and find out, why is that moment so magical for us that we seek it? Look at the sky, it's pink. Look at the sun hitting the mountain. Look what it does. Because it's a moment that we feel in our hearts, a moment of contact. The seventh one is at midnight of Christmas Eve. I think that's a very special time for me, and I feel it. And it is a time we come together and we sing sacred songs, and we celebrate the birth again. The birth of anything, from a little flower that comes up from the ground, a little animal, a human being, the birth of our soul, the birth of a new idea. It's really celebratory, isn't it? So keep those in mind. First one is baptism. Second one is communion. Third one is WASOC. Fourth one is the full moon. Fifth one is Saturday night. Sixth is every sunset. And seventh is Christmas Eve midnight. Now there are signs, factual signs, that show that we have made contact. This is so important for us so that we learn to face ourselves and not lie to ourselves. When we lie to ourselves, we increase our glamours and illusions and pretenses. A contact is going to be visible to us because it would mean we have made a change. It's revelatory. It reveals of what we are at this time in our lives. That can be shocking, or it can be hope-giving. It can be inspiring. Don't be afraid when you say, wow, is that me? Sometimes that's really shocking. But the whole philosophy behind cosmic shocks is that it's a good thing. Because when we see what we are in reality, we can make a change. So a real contact precipitates change. It is a change that is real, and it can last 1 day, 6 months, or a year. I've had people say once they participate in a WASOC, they're good for 6 months. And then they have to start all over again. Well, that's what happens. So each contact is a shock that reveals the truth to us. Shocks us to see our real condition. We need to see our real condition. And third, and most important, it gives us the courage to face ourselves. How will we know when we've made contact? Look at these signs, and they are also in this chapter. And the first one is we see ourselves as we are. We see all the growth and positive things in us, and we see things that we don't like. That's good. You can say, why do I speak this way? Why do I think and act this way? Is this really me? Is it fitting? These are embarrassing questions, but we have to ask them. Am I really living my faith, my belief, or just pretending? And in the spiritual and religious field, unfortunately, there's a lot of pretension puff. Let's not be part of that. Let's look at ourselves and say, am I really living my faith and belief or just pretending? So that's the first thing, and it is a shocking experience. But it's really important, because unless we see exactly what we are and who we are and face it, we can't take the next step, which is, now what do I do? Here's what happens next, which is really important, because that shock can really unsettle us. But the second result of contact is an increase in goodwill. I think that's really important. There isn't enough goodwill in the world. There's so much animosity and hatred and toxicity. We don't talk with goodwill. We don't express with goodwill. When I say we, I mean collective humanity. When we contact Christ, we cannot have ill will in us any longer, because Christ does not harbor ill will toward anybody or anything. That's our model, right? So we change the way we talk, we change the way we think, we change the way we feel toward others. Goodwill becomes real when we can say, I no longer live there. Look at that word, I no longer live in that toxic environment. He, Christ, lives in me. I am Him. I am fused with Him. Isn't that a profound statement to say? I think this is really important for us as we go through this year and try to cultivate and grow our center, grow the spread of the beautiful ageless wisdom teachings, grow in our songs and our worship. It is really important to have no ill will. Goodwill will always help us find the solutions. The third result of real contact is when we have a larger degree of peace inside of us. I have trouble finding peace inside of me all the time. Do you? That's a tough one, because I want things done and done yesterday.
And done right.
And done right. And that doesn't work. Those three combinations don't always work. Because sometimes the trouble that comes, this is something I just learned, the trouble that comes, something that breaks down is good in the long term, right? So you have to look at the long term. Why is this chaos constantly in my life? I've asked that for 5 years now, and I'm running out of patience. But then when I look, something different emerges. And it's really hard. If you have had this problem of not having peace inside of you, make that contact and ask maybe at that door, why don't I have peace in my heart? Why am I suffering? Why am I just crazy with chaos all the time? Why can't I sleep? Why can't I relax? Why am I always on edge? These are really important questions. And it can be accomplished with repeated practice. It doesn't happen right away. I'm a woman of the teaching. I really work hard in achieving peace. I'm not successful in achieving peace all the time. Okay? I lose it. I lose it often. So I try again, because I know that it's possible. Okay? So if you know it's possible, that that door will be opened, that you will have a peaceful heart inside of you, then try again. Contact with Christ creates unity. First, unity is within ourselves, that we are physically, emotionally, mentally, and our soul is not divided. Our body is running in one direction, our emotions in another direction, our mind is all over the place, our soul is lost, unable to put an impact in our life. That's usually what we are. And the social media and the marketing and advertising really pushes us to be in chaos all the time. Pushes us. We're so addicted, we don't even know we're addicted half the time. See, this is so important. So the first unity is within ourselves, that we act and speak and think and feel and plan for our best interest, not for our short-term interest alone. Unity starts within. My soul guides all I do. And what does that look like? Increased peace, increased integrity, a cohesive life, health and stamina. We're almost there. We have 2 more to cover. Are you good? Okay, the 5th condition that contact creates is real striving in us. Real striving in us. It lights our fire. It's powerful, it's energy. When we prepare ourselves for the days of Christmas, for Easter, for Wesak, for communion, for special occasions in our life, what happens? There's a fire in us that's helping us and generating activity in us. And you have a real experience when you need to, if you're awake and watching. All the great things people accomplish is because they had a direct soul hierarchical contact and their life changed. All of us here can pinpoint that time when something switched in our life, can we not? What was that time? What was that day? What was that person? What was that email? What was that phone call? What was that word that you heard that made a change in your life and created something dynamic? All of us have experienced that, because that's what's required for us to take that step. That fire is lit in us and we strive. And last but not least, it creates a process of initiation. Initiation means that you have received your PhD or your master's degree or whatever degree it is that you've been awarded, and now what? More work is ahead of you, and you are able to do that work until you want to go to another level. Does that make sense? So it's stage by stage by stage. Teaching says on page 130, you can do it. See, great ones never say maybe, sort of, maybe next life. They don't say that. They say you can do it. One moment of contact makes you peaceful. In dangerous times, anytime you have a real problem that you cannot solve, or when you are really frustrated and confused, contact him and you will see what will happen. Even with all your problems, you will have some kind of peace that will surprise people. But look, it's going to make an effort, right? You have to make an effort. I have to make an effort. And you have 7 ways that we can make an effort. We can even be baptized visually. You can imagine yourself standing in front of Christ and say, baptize me, heal me, remove the dirt that's in our bodies, and anoint me. Can we do that with a meditation, right? We can do that. Each of these steps can be done through our meditation. Look at page 134. This is so beautiful and so uplifting. And we all have these moments in our life. So in your dark hours, midnight hours, and depression and blues, remember that these things are trash. We think they're so important. We take them and rehash them. Here's what happened. Here's how I feel. Here's what he said. Here's what she said. I'm hurt. He's saying it's trash. You should not have them if you have Christ's light. If you have them, just make a contact and you will see the change. It is a literal change. Your brain has many mysteries. That one thought activates lots of chemicals, and it creates a substance that immediately heals you. Do you see that? So sincere decision to knock and search and ask starts activating something in our brain tissue that then has other substances that are released in us. That's why people go to churches and they worship and they sing. There was a medical research that was done that said that people who go to church, any place of worship, at least once a week, live an average of 8 years longer. That's 8 years is nothing to sneeze at. You know, that's great. They're healthier, they're more vibrant. So look at that. Why is that? Well, there are chemicals, physical being with other people, meditation, emotional healing, letting go, communion, and so forth. All of these things. That's why it's so important. That one thought activates lots of chemicals and it creates a substance that immediately heals you. People say it is a miracle. They're healed. There are no miracles. A miracle is when you cannot see what is happening, but you have one moment of faith. Let's go down to the paragraph below on page 134. One contact is enough. This is important, so don't think that you have to do 500 contacts. I counted all the contacts and it came to like 455 and counting. And I thought, that means I do something twice a day, you know? Okay, so one contact is enough, but it must be a real contact, not imagination. And if you've ever had that contact, it'll never leave you, ever. You can always go back and say, I remember that moment. I remember it. You must have real togetherness and focus and dynamism. If you have a contact with Christ, it will give you that striving, and you will never, never admit defeat. No defeat. That's my mantra. Never say die. Never. Once you admit defeat, you are matter. You are not spirit. In the most trying times, you are going to say, defeat is not for me. I am a son or daughter of the Most High. This is a spirit, and that is what Christ came to teach. So we can count these possibilities and see that we have over 455 opportunities every year to make a contact. All we need is one sincere contact where you make a real change. And that change may not be visible to anyone, but you know inside of you something's changing. And slowly it'll come out, slowly, slowly, as your bodies adjust to this contact, something changes. Each change needs a deliberate knocking. a deliberate asking, deliberate seeking. And if you keep asking and you're not hearing something, change the way you ask. If you keep knocking and no doors opening, change the way you knock. If you keep seeking and you're not finding still the answer that your heart knows, keep seeking and find out how you need to switch that. You will find it because your solar angel will guide you exactly where you need to be. Nobody can tell you what you should do. Only you and your solar angel know what's right for you. Only you and your solar angel. And solar angel is in contact with Christ, with the Lord's every day. So trust that. Trust that contact and look at these different ways, remember them, and see if you can make an effort this year, at least one, and see how that's going to make a change in you. So now what we are going to do is we are going to say a beautiful prayer from Christ, the Avatar of Sacrificial Love, given on page 251, Contact with Christ Prayer. And then when we finish that, we will say 3 ohms and we'll finish today's lecture. But we will have a little time for discussion if you like, okay? Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Sit up nice and straight. And talk to Christ for just a minute. Your own words. Imagine Christ is standing on a mountain, completely visible to you. Now imagine going to Christ and you're going to talk to him. Try to formulate, what is it that you are seeking? Sincerely seeking. See yourself as a living soul, vibrant, beautiful. You are not begging. You are a disciple, a child of the Most High, and you're having this conversation. Repeat after me and hold that contact as you're saying this and have that confidence in you. The living sacrifice of the world.
The living sacrifice of the world.
The living beauty on my path.
The living beauty on my path.
The resurrection.
The resurrection.
And fiery fountain.
And fiery fountain.
Of love and life. I come to you with a pure heart.
I come to you with a pure heart.
And surrender myself to you.
And surrender myself to you.
For the service of humanity.
For the service of humanity.
For the fulfillment of the plan. For the glory of your reappearance.
For the glory of your reappearance.
Now feel very strong inside of you as you say the following. I stand in your presence.
I stand in your presence.
Charge me with the spirit of love.
Charge me with the spirit of love.
Of light. And power. Now receive that charge from him. that I may follow your path of resurrection,
that I may follow your path of resurrection,
of sacrifice, of love. Create a mental, emotional, and physical link with that power. Let it fill you. Om.